live. So in this video, I'm going to cover the basics of if statements. So an if statement is basically a conditional statement where you run a block of code only if a certain condition is satisfied. So let me just do a simple example, and imagine we have x is equal to 5, and now we can ask a question. So we can say if x is bigger than, say, 0, then we can print, and we can say the number is greater than 0. And so what will happen here is if this statement's true, so if true, right? So x bigger than 0, that's going to be true because x is 5. So if true, print the number is greater than 0. And if I run this code, I'm going to get the statement that the number is greater than 0. If I put this as -5 and I run it, nothing's going to happen because this statement is this is false right here. The x greater than 0 is false. And so this statement is not printed. Now we can add an extra decision point here by putting an else statement. And so basically an else statement is if this is not activated, so if this block of code is not activated, let's activate this block of code over here. And so we could put print the number is less than 0 here. And now when I run it, we're going to see the number is less than 0 because the first statement is not true. And so then we just kind of go into the backup statement, or kind of the default. Again, if it's true, x is bigger than 5, then the first block of code is activated. Now the thing is, it doesn't have to be aligned. We could also do other things. We could say y is equal to 20, and maybe we can print the value of y is, print y here, and then, we could maybe also set down here y is equal to -20, and then we can print the value of y is %g, and let's put our y value here. Now if I run it, we see if it's greater than 0, it's going to run this block of code, and then if it's less than 0, it's going to run the second block of code. All right, for simplicity, I'm just going to delete this away, and I want to introduce another condition. So let's just run this again. So what happens if we put in 0? In this case, the 0 is saying it's less than 0 because the first condition is not activated, but maybe we want to make a special case for 0. And so what we can do is put an additional if statement, which is called an elif or else if. We could say x is equal to 0, and then we could print the number is 0. And in this case, we're going to get the first this statement being printed. So the way it works is it first evaluates this expression, so x greater than 0, and it prints the number is greater than 0 if that's true. If not, it'll evaluate this expression. If that's true, it'll print the number is 0. If not, it'll do the else statement. All right, and so again, if we put 2, it's going to print this value here. Now, if I put another, I can put multiple elif statements, but if I put like an elif statement and I say x is bigger than 1, I can print here the number is bigger than 1. What you're going to find out is that this block of code is never going to be activated because this first condition is always going to be activated, and then it's no longer going to look at the rest of them. And so we're going to say the number is greater than 0. If we wanted to check the number bigger than 1 before bigger than 0, we'd actually have to switch the order. So we'd have to put this as 1 and this is 0. And then let me just cut and paste this down here. Put that there and come up here. Put that there, and then I run it, and now I have bigger than 1 in the first case because that's activated first. So it's greater than 0 here, and less than 1. Less than 1. And I could run it. And if it's 1, right, then it's going to be less than or 1. Technically, I should do like greater than equal to 0, right? Because less than, and so I can put 0.5 and it says greater than 0 and less than 1. So you can string together as many of these if statements as you want. We can also do things like x is equal to 5. I could say if x is bigger than 0 and x is less than 10, we can say print x, we could say x, x is between 0 and 10. In this case, it's true. But if it's 0, nothing's going to happen. And I can also put else statements there to come up with the case not being so. So I could say else. You can say x is not between 0 and 10. In this case, when x is 0, it's not between it because we're not including the boundary points. So to make it clear, I could put a -1 there, which would also be true. We can also nest if and else statements. So I could say if x is bigger than 0, and then again, I could also ask a second question. I could say if x is bigger than 5, I print, x is bigger than 5, and then, else I could print, x is less than 5 and bigger than 0. Right, and now if I run it here, actually I didn't define x, so let me come back here. It's using the previous value. So if I said, whoop, kind of jumped on me. So if I did x is equal to 3, what we're going to see is the first statement gets activated, and then in this case, it's checking if x is bigger than 0. And in the next case, it's checking if x is bigger than 5. If not, it's over here. So if I did like 7, the second block, actually I did it backwards. 7, 2, it's bigger than 0. This statement's not true, so this statement here is activated. And then if I did 7, we see the first block of code being activated. Now you can nest as many if statements as you want. That's how you can break up logical expressions. And can you really kind of like play the 20 question type game using these multiple if, elif, else type statements. So with that, I'll stop. That's kind of a quick overview of if statements. They're used a lot in code. They're also great to put in your code to check for things. If you know your solution should be between, say, 0 and 100, you might put an if statement, and if the solution's outside, you might raise a warning, say, to the users, letting them know that something's going wrong in your code. But later in the class, we'll see how we're going to use these if statements. You'll actually be forced to use them in your homework this week. All right, with that, I'll stop and see you guys. And in the next video, I will talk about while loops, which is another kind of, it's a way of kind of repeating a bunch of code. All right, bye.